The following is brought to you in part by System Blue. Products and education. System Blue.
Ladies and gentlemen, the corps on the field, the conquered Blue Devils.
Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond.
Modern drum corps has evolved into an advanced splendor of concept and design. The artistry of movement and sound grows with each performance, and in the case of this year's corps, includes many layers of electronics to help bring the production to life. From synthesized keyboard to electronic sampling machines, the performance of the electronics music, sounds, and samples rely in the hands of two talented members of the Blue Devils front ensemble.
At the Blue Devils synthesizer, you can kind of split it up into two parts, where on the keyboard, on the actual piano, most of my part is used to help the horn line in pushing their sound through. And the other part is the sampler, which is vocals, narrations, basically to help the general effect of the show. It's one of those jobs that, from an outsider perspective, it's really easy to look at a surface level and be like, oh, well, you know, he's just playing chords and then pushing buttons, you know. And for people who have, you know, been in that experience, it's the micromanaging and the level of multitasking you have to be able to do in order to make sure that the show goes the right way is very difficult.
So here's like this one for the beginning, but if I'm like on the wrong patch, you're gonna hear this. And then boom, they're like, Vanessa, you're wrong. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm on the wrong patch, my bad. It's a pretty big responsibility, even though there's two of us, because we're both playing two separate parts that nobody else plays. Like if I miss a sample, I'm toast because I'm the only one that plays that sample. Nobody else in the corps can fill in that spot.
Sometimes I have to have my phone out because they'll call from the box and they'll give me instructions on to adjust stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that one needs to go up by 10.
Okay.
We keep charts like this. Every single sample volume that we have, we keep these like all season, and they'll have us adjust it every time. And every single time we have to write it down. Our sound comes from a set of speakers that are 10 feet in front of us. So if the horn line was about 30 feet behind me and CC played a downbeat with his hands and went like 1, if both the horn line and I watched his hands, I would always be early every time.
It's like with huge hits, I have to take a breath myself with all of the horns and like,
I have to wait till I hear a sound behind me before I play, because if I played at any time before that, then it's going to be early enough that someone's going to notice.
Just like you have to listen to the brass at the phrase leading into this, you really have to do a good job listening to the 16th notes and making sure you're staying exactly with them or even just slightly behind them, okay? Because it feels really uncomfortable when you guys even get a hair ahead, whereas when you're a little bit behind, it doesn't bother me really at all, okay?
We're pretty much a team. I know like as soon as we start reps or even the show, we have to get on like kind of the same wavelength. So we're both already in that zone of like, we need to make sure we're on this patch for the synth, this bank for the sampler, and we're both just thinking ahead all the time.
Synth of the Blue Devils definitely is one of the more special positions, at least to me. It makes me feel like I have like a bigger role, you know, in the big picture of things.
Throughout the summer, the Blue Devils host numerous System Blue educational events. It is not only a chance for fans to learn from the Blue Devils, but also to experience a BD rehearsal from the inside out.
One of the things I love is putting people in the center of the circle, okay? Because you hear the horn line in a different way than you get to hear it when you're outside of the circle or when you're in the stadium. Like when you hear that section tonight, it won't sound like that. Okay, when we get to the end of the show, it won't have that same sound because you're not right in front of them. Like they're not actually pointing their instruments right at you. So that's kind of a special thing to be inside the circle. There's not a lot of groups that let you do that.
Well, it was really cool to see like how they act from different sides, and like they even took time, like how they rehearse, like to talk to you. While you're on the field, which really shows like how there's not like these big Blue Devils. They're just really personal actually. So I thought that was really cool, and I also just being so close is just really, really cool.
Low, 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 low. When I say low, you say breath. Low, breath, low, breath.
The pretty cool part about all of this, like this whole experience of like System Blue, is like getting to go on the field and actually seeing everything like real and live in person. And it's honestly just amazing because they do so many different things on so many different skill sets and different levels. And honestly, it's something that I aspire to do eventually within my life of drum corps, whatever I want to pursue after high school. And it's honestly just pretty awesome. And I can't really say much more than that, really.
As the show progresses into the ballad, we see transformation. Members shed layers of their uniform, revealing a bounty of vibrant color across the field. We have moved from the past into the present, a part of the show that builds upon what came before while playing with ideas of what the future could be.
So at the top of the ballad, we have another really challenging part as a front ensemble. This part is tricky because there's a lot of rhythmic and metric changes. So instead of just straight 16th notes the whole time, which is why Flight of the Bumblebee is hard, it's a lot of switching between 32nd notes, 16th notes, triplets, 8th note triplets. It's like, has a lot of different rhythms inside of it.
There's that whole pit phrase. That's basically the mood change from the opener. It's more of a shift into like a more mellow vibe. And then I come in with the everything must change lick, and you see the props start to move. I'm up on the prop in the new shiny diamond looking butterfly type of uniform. Even though I just jazz ran across that rotation, it has to be cool, collected, in tune. I have to look like I'm chilling. You know, I'm playing lead, so my face is kind of pinched and tight coming into that, but then switch to flugelhorn, it's relaxed, it's open, it's like a warm chocolatey sound. So I'm just thinking breathing the whole time, like breathing vigorously the whole end of the opener.
So the first thing you see from the color guard at the beginning of the ballad is couples come out and run out, and then they come together on this one pit note and they make like a very intimate connection. And from there, there's a lot of like pulling apart and coming together, and that really to me looks like fusion and like metamorphing, which is what our show is about. And really it's like depicting that process of metamorphosis. For me, I think it's the stage from being a chrysalis to a butterfly, because at the end the girls have a lift with the boys, and it's really like open and kind of like we're being set free.
audience is introduced to the new uniform with the flugel solo. The euphoniums will create a big circle around some of the props, and we start playing the funky phrase. So this is kind of the first groovy part of the ballad, and it's kind of like this laid-back groove, lots of different articulations.
So the funky phrase begins with the euphoniums. Very funky, jazzy, and then 4 measures later, I come in with my solo. It sounds like it's improvised, but it's actually very consistent from night to night. And to be honest, it's probably one of the hardest things I've ever played as a trombonist.
And the bass drums come from the back of the sideline and they climb this prop and then they start like this bass feature that helps accompany like the trombone solo. It's kind of jazz feel. You know, you got a lot of upbeat, like third partial triplets. We just kind of just groove. We reached this fermata. This is a non-stop, just a bunch of 4s, bunch of doubles.
Good groove on that last rep, just a little bit gaps. So that means maybe some tight interps, all right? Tight interps there.
So when the saber feature comes in, we go from a pretty sultry tone in the flugelhorn soloist to jazz. And the saber introduces that. So our very first count of choreography is a huge hip roll that goes around, and we're really using our lower body a lot in the choreography to kind of represent what jazz feels like and the smoothness of it and the coolness of it. So really we're just trying to display the music through our bodies and what that new tone sets as we go into the jazziness of the ballad.
So right at the fermata, we all hit the same pose. CC takes his jacket off, and that's like everybody in the whole corps has their uniform changed by this point, with CC taking his jacket off. And then roll into the ground.
We're all gesturing up at Evelyn, and she has the glockenspiel that represents our past. And we're all gesturing up at her, and then the music, someone from the front ensemble plays a ding, but she pretends that it's her.
It's kind of that flashback, that final flashback before we take off into the new era of the show and the new era of drum corps.
Next week on Inside BD360.
And then I play the opening motif of the second half of the ballad, which is Everything Must Change. I kind of embellish it as the solo goes on. It starts off kind of simple, and then I add bends and little jazz embellishments here and there to signify the element of change throughout the ballad.